The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In one age, called the Third Age by some, an age yet to come, an age long past, a trailer rose upon the internet. The trailer was not the beginning. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turning of the wheel of time. But it was a beginning. Hello, my name's Rob Edwards. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we're going to do a discussion about the full trailer for Wheel of Time. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. I hope you're as excited about this as I am. I am going to go through the trailer we've just had drop yesterday and talk about it. I've learnt my lesson from last time. I'm not going to pretend or hint or suggest this is going to be a reaction because I am no good at reactions. I spend a lot of time just analysing what I'm seeing on screen, and that's what I want to talk about now. I want to talk about some of the scenes that struck me in the trailer, some of the things I found interesting. And I've got a collection of slides that I'm going to go through, some of which I've got almost nothing to say about, but I just wanted to point them out because they're cool, and others that I have more to say about than I can fit in a non-spoiler section. So as when I did the first teaser breakdown, I'm going to go through all my slides once in as non-spoilery as I can manage, and then come back around and talk about them in a bit more spoiler terms. So for this first section, if you are completely spoiler phobic, don't worry, I'm not going to say anything that will be construed as a plot spoiler. Again, might say people's names, might say names of places and locations and things like that, but nothing about the plot at all. So it does mean some of the slides I don't have very much to say about in a non-spoilery kind of way, which does include this one here. This is the first example in the main trailer we have of some channeling going on. You can see a faint wisp of the weave. It's probably spirit being weaved here, I think, as Moiraine speaks her oath. The oaths are from the books, although there are a couple of changes to the version we see on screen. One quite interesting, and one may just be even cut for time. But again, I will talk more about that when I get to the spoiler section. Another thing that I have nothing very much to say about is this picture here. I've included it in here, not because I'm not even sure I know who this character is. I could limit it to about 2 or 3. But I just wanted to say this guy has a brilliant voice. I mean, fantastic, just low, rich and deep, and yes, I'm behind him talking. We should have him talk as many times as possible. So, here is something I do have something to talk about. I have, from the teasers and the other trailers and sort of clips we've seen for Wheel of Time, have been kind of under the assumption that the structure of the first episode is going to be picking up in the Two Rivers and seeing our cast of important characters in the Two Rivers, and then having their day interrupted by the arrival of Moiraine and Lan. The fact that in this trailer, Lan asks where next, and Moiraine says we're going to the Two Rivers, the old blood runs deep in those mountains, that's saying quite clearly that we're going to see Moiraine and Lan on their journey before we meet them in the Winespring Inn. So that's just an interesting little bit there of how this is going to go. And again, I think it kind of plays into a little bit that in many ways, I think Moiraine has been cast as the lead of this show, certainly of season 1. And that is different from the books. Moiraine is quite, in the books, again, this is not plot spoilery really, but in the books, Moiraine is quite removed from our characters, from the Emmonsfield Five. She holds herself aloof, doesn't share a lot of information, doesn't tell them really what's going on in any great detail. And again, we have quite a lot of voiceover here Moiraine is doing quite a lot of explaining. So that is quite interesting. I included this slide here because it was great hearing Matt talk. It was great having a reaction to Moiraine sharing some of that information and Matt going, "Are you fully out of your mind?" which I thought was really funny. I'm here for it. But this slide. Oh, yes. This slide. I am very, very excited by this. This is a really good shot of one of the Trollocs, one of the Shadow Spawn that are going to feature in this series. And I haven't sort of screenshotted all of the different looks we get from Trollocs during this trailer, but I just wanted to point out that we do get several. So this guy has quite a sort of a boar look. Then we have another guy later on with antlers. I think I caught a glimpse of one with a beak. So the Trollocs that we see, just like in the books, have different bestial features depending on, each individual, essentially. And this is great. This is a picture of a Trolloc. I think later on we see him facing off against Tam and Rand al'Thor in their farmhouse, which suggests that this might be I think maybe the only Trolloc we have named in the entire series. I'm sure I'm going to get people commenting now about all the other Trollocs names we have, but we do get a name for this character in the book, if it's who I think it is, which means that this might be a Trolloc called Narg. That's not a spoiler. That's just a Trolloc name. It looks so good. Clearly, there is a lot of real prosthetics going on and not a great deal of CGI, which is fantastic. Now, I don't really want to say very much about this shot in non-spoilers because I am reasonably sure this is a shot probably from towards the end of the series, unless it's something else. It could be. I think I know where it is, but I could be completely wrong. So, not only do I not want to spoil anything, I also don't want to tell you something which isn't true. So, but interestingly, we're seeing quite a lot of one of the things I really love about Wheel of Time as a book series, and I'm glad to see that is being reflected in the TV series, is that we see a lot of different places, a lot of different cultures, and I think this is another fantastic example. We see the rich greens and grey mountains of the two rivers, and then we see this place, which couldn't look more different, and that is brilliant. Right, yes. First shot we have of a white cloak. We see the next shot. Didn't do a screenshot of it, but the next shot of him or another white cloak anyway, putting an Aes Sedai ring on his belt, along with a collection of other Aes Sedai rings on their belt. And clearly there's blood on his hand, there's blood on the white cloth on the table. I think we will get a lot of opportunity to really dislike this character, and I am very excited for that opportunity. And that is exactly what we should be doing with a lot of the white cloaks. So that is... Again, I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. What do we got next? Oh, yeah. This one, again, not something that I want to spend a lot of time talking about, but in the spoiler section, I do have one comment about the guy in the bottom left that I wanted to share. Now, this is a really interesting shot. I'm quite excited and interested by this one because there is a character in this shot that we don't necessarily know who it is yet. I mean, the book readers, I think, are pretty certain who it would be. But we've got, from the left, we've got Perrin, and then a guy with sort of shaggy, light brown hair, Nynaeve, Mat, Moiraine, Rand, Egwene, and Lan. So who is the guy with the shaggy hair? I think that might be a character known as Loial. It is the first time he's turned up in any of the trailers, and really we don't have a good enough shot to make any kind of impression of him at all, but I am excited to see him there. And it makes sense that he would be there for the reason of what that structure is. But again, no spoilers. This, I suspect, is a flashback, but it is a really exciting flashback. That person there, it's another example of another culture, another civilization within the land of Wheel of Time, and the two spears on the back there, and the general look of him, pretty much, well, probably him, but pretty much tells us immediately who and what this is, and that, I mean, it looks exactly as I pictured it in my head. So that is another really, really great shot. So November 19th, very, very close now. Less than, is it 3 weeks away? What is the date now? Okay, it's a little over 3 weeks from now, but it's very, very close. And I'm bouncing off the walls at this point. We are going to get this show. It is going to be fantastic. Now, that's it for my non-spoiler quick look at this video. I'm going to go back now and talk about things as spoilery as I can. So if you don't want any spoilers, now would be a great time. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you two are sharing some of the excitement that I'm feeling. I suspect this show is going to be great. There's still plenty of room for them to mess it up, of course. But right now, I'm fully on optimistic about the whole thing. So thank you for joining me. If you're sticking around for the spoilers, let's get into those now. So working backwards as I do with my screenshots here, this is a picture of an Aiel. Another of those book words I've never really had to say out loud very often. Aiel, yeah, and clearly, I mean, I'm suspecting this is a flashback to when the dragon is reborn. I think when the Aiel attacked Tar Valon. I think that would be what this is. This is to the birth of the dragon and what set off Moiraine on her search. I think that's quite interesting that there's going to be a lot more of the flashbacks and playing with the structure of the story, I think, than we had just as presented in the original version in the Eye of the World, the book. And that's going to be quite interesting. I think that's really good. I think we're going to get to see a lot of the depth to the story going on and have it properly realised. And that really quite excites me. So yeah, if this is Loial getting ready to open the way gates for Moiraine, he's a little bit shorter than I imagined. But certainly the jacket's right, the hair's right. He should be taller. If that is Loial, he should be taller. But I'm not going to let that stress me too much. I suspect they will frame a lot of shots that he's in conversational stuff, so that to emphasise his height. And I think it's just perhaps a little bit of perspective which is bringing his height down as well. So this is again, it's a change to the location. The Waygate that they enter is underneath underneath Caemlyn in Andor, in the books. And I think we've known for a while now that wasn't going to be the case, and I think we've already determined that we're not actually going to Caemlyn anymore. So I'm assuming that this is a Waygate near Tar Valon, I suspect. Loial, hey! This is, of course, the White Cloaks catching Egwene and Perrin. The guy in the bottom left-hand corner who's lying on the floor has a very colourful coat, which suggests to me that is one of the travelling folk, the Tuatha one. Is that Aram? So is this Aemon Vala? I suppose it is. We see them burning what looks like a yellow Aes Sedai at the stake. Don't quite know how they've managed that. I suppose they could have deadened her ability to channel with... perhaps I shouldn't say that, because that would be a spoiler if you haven't read very far into the books. But yeah, maybe. Otherwise, it'd be hard to see how they would actually have managed to capture and burn her. But clearly, these White Cloaks are a bit more aggressive about taking down... Well, I say a bit more aggressive. They do talk in the books, don't they, about how an arrow that you're unaware of would still kill an Aes Sedai, and the White Cloaks would happily kill Aes Sedai, and they can. So maybe they're not being more aggressive. They're just being a bit more kind of on screen about the whole thing. So I guess I'm assuming that this is Feldara. Again, I don't know for sure, and I don't want to necessarily say that that's what it is. But, I mean, it looks quite close. It looks sort of barren and could be close to the Blight. I pictured Feldara to be bigger, I'll be honest. But a big walled city, very defensive. I mean, that seems a likely option for what place we're looking at there. I love these Trollocs. I love these Trollocs. They are absolutely amazing. I think it was one of Daniel Green's videos I was watching, and he was talking about how, you know, one of the things that any sort of fantasy series has got to deal with is distinguishing their sort of minions of their Dark Lord from orcs. And I think these look great. These are definitely you put a list next to an orc and you can tell which one's the Trolloc. And I think that's a positive thing as well. And I say I love the fact that there are we see in this trailer lots of variations on what the Trollocs can look like, which is exactly what we should see. And I do love seeing Rand and Tam fighting this Trolloc in their farmhouse. Interesting to see Tam draw his sword. Presumably that is the sword that we will eventually see Rand carrying around with him as well. And Rand puts an arrow in the back of the Trolloc, which is quite cool as well. So that's a really, really interesting scene. I had a vague suspicion we might actually not see the attack on the farmhouse, but I think it's fairly clear now that we will. I am getting a picture of what the first episode is going to look like in my head now. I don't want to describe it in case I'm right. I'm probably not. As I've proven on several occasions in my videos, my reliability is not the greatest amongst all Wheel of Time commentators. But yeah. Oh, he looks great though. He does look great though. Mat is fantastic. Mat here reacting, apparently in the trailer, there could be, of course, different scenes completely, to Moiraine saying, one of you 5. And I had thought previously from the last teaser that we saw that they were going to be putting Egwene into the mix as possibly the Dragon Reborn. But I think it looks like from that they're also going to include Nynaeve in the mix as well. So there is going to be a question, which one is the dragon? Is it Nynaeve, Egwene, Mat, Rand, or Perrin? It could be any one of the 5. I mean, we're in the spoiler talk, we know who it is, but even so, interesting that they should frame it like that. I do wonder if the show, because of course they can re-edit lines for the trailer. Maybe we don't get the line like that in the actual show. No, they're going to want to play it. They want to play it as it being a mystery surrounding these 5. It makes the 5 of them being away from the 2 rivers a bit easier to handle, I think. Moiraine and Lan, what a pair of heroes. I don't have anything to add to this, spoiler-wise. Just fantastic. So Stepin, Elias. That's my guess. Someone tell me, have we had this confirmed? He does have a great voice, though. And the swearing on the oath rod. Interesting. The second oath has been changed so that it says person, not man. Woman, camera, TV. So, making a weapon that one person can harm another. Fine. I mean, that makes sense, particularly if we are going to be presenting a world where women are as powerful and as strong as men, unlike a lot of sort of fantasy stories that we see. The other one, though, is interesting. I think they must have cut the third oath for time because this is the one where I'm not going to use the power as a weapon. But of course, the actual oath then goes on to say, except against dark friends and shadow spawn, and in defence of my life, or my warder, or one of my sisters, or something like that. So yeah, there's more to that oath in the books, and I wonder if that's not going to have more of it in the show. Again, very interesting that we're seeing this scene at all. That's very much a flashback to New Spring type territory. But I think they have to keep the full third oath, don't they? Otherwise, it gets into the whole kind of Asimov wrote whole novels around the basis of tweaking the 3 laws of robotics to not include or buy-in action. And I think leaving this out of the 3 oaths leaves a lot more scope as well. I am, though, happy that we get the oath to speak no word which is not true, because that does mean one of the fun things about the Aes Sedai is always listening to what they say and then trying to work out in what way is that true or not, as the case may be. Very, 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 very interesting. So there we go. That's it for my spoilers. Again, there were lots of shots I wanted to do screenshots of. There were lots of just really gorgeous, beautiful images within this trailer. The whole show looks fantastic. And if it is a little bit overlit and a little bit bright and colourful in some places, I think that is just setting the tone to differentiate it from Game of Thrones, because that, again, is another one, and for that matter, Lord of the Rings, that is another one where they have to make this show different. They have to make this show have its own voice within the genre of fantasy TV shows. And yeah. Fantastic. Sorry. I should just mention this whole 360-degree thing they did on YouTube. I probably should just talk about that very briefly. Did you see it? Did you use it? Did you play with it? I confess I didn't really rate it very much. A few words of the old tongue floating through the ether and flaming eyes. I mean, that was quite nice. Quite like seeing the flaming eyes. But I don't know that it really added a great deal to my experience of the trailer. I am much happier just to have watched the regular one without the 360 now. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.